All right, let's talk about a silent crisis, one that could literally unravel a century of medical progress. And no, it's not some new pandemic on the horizon. It's a threat that's already here, and it's getting stronger every single day.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What happens if the drugs that make modern medicine possible just stop working? We're talking about something that could rewind the clock on medicine, making common infections deadly all over again.
So, to really get this, we've got to start at the beginning, with what was once seen as an absolute medical miracle: antibiotics. It's almost impossible to overstate their impact. Think about it. From treating something like pneumonia to making routine surgeries and even cancer treatments safe, antibiotics have been the bedrock of modern healthcare. They turn so many deadly diseases into things we just treat.
The problem is, that shield is cracking. The very tool that has saved so many of us is losing its power. And this isn't some far-off problem for the future. It is happening right now, and the consequences are getting worse every day.
So, the big question is, how did we get here? How does a miracle drug start to fail? Well, the answer is something called antibiotic resistance. And honestly, it's a storm we brewed ourselves. It's really just evolution and fast forward. Bacteria are absolute masters of survival. So when we throw an antibiotic at them, yeah, the weakest bacteria die off. But the strongest ones, the ones that have some random lucky mutation that helps them survive, they live, they multiply, and they pass on that resistance.
And sure, a little bit of this would happen naturally over like centuries. But our behavior has put this whole process into overdrive. We have basically created the perfect training ground for superbugs.
And it really comes down to this perfect storm of three key things. First, we just overuse and misuse them in medicine. Every time an antibiotic is handed out for a cold or the flu, which are viruses, by the way, it's like a wasted shot that just makes the enemy stronger. Second, agriculture. Antibiotics are used all the time, not just to treat sick animals, but to fatten up livestock. And finally, there's a huge innovation problem. It's just not very profitable for drug companies to develop new antibiotics, so our arsenal is getting dangerously old.
And this isn't just a niche medical issue. The consequences are creating this massive ripple effect across the entire globe, and it's threatening to push us into a world where we just don't have reliable cures anymore.
The human cost here is just terrifying. I mean, imagine getting a simple cut, it gets infected, and suddenly it's a life-or-death struggle. Or think about procedures we totally take for granted, like a C-section or a hip replacement, becoming as risky as they were 100 years ago. That's the future this crisis is steering us towards.
And this table really lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got modern medicine as we know it. On the right, a post-antibiotic future. A world where safe surgeries become high-risk gambles and cancer treatments get infinitely more dangerous. It's a really stark picture of everything we stand to lose.
And on top of the devastating health impacts, the economic burden is massive. Longer hospital stays, the need for more expensive, last-resort drugs. It puts a huge strain on entire healthcare systems. And for individual families, especially in developing countries, a resistant infection can mean total financial ruin.
Okay, that all sounds pretty bleak, I know. But this fight is not over. Not by a long shot. We have the power to change course, but it's going to take a huge collective effort. A shared responsibility that starts with every single one of us and goes all the way up to global policy.
And that really does start with you. These three simple things are incredibly powerful. Don't pressure your doctor for an antibiotic if they tell you it won't work. And if you are prescribed them, please always finish the entire course, even if you start feeling better. That helps make sure no stronger bacteria are left behind to multiply.
Of course, the healthcare system itself is on the front lines here. Hospitals have to be the gatekeepers for these precious medicines. Through what they call stewardship programs, they can make sure antibiotics are treated like a last resort, not a first guess, and are always used in exactly the right way. And finally, we need the big picture, large-scale action. Governments have to step in and regulate antibiotic use in farming. They need to create incentives to develop new drugs, and everyone has to work together. Because here's the thing, resistant bacteria do not respect borders. Now, for what I think is the most exciting part of this story. While we're all working to protect the antibiotics we have left, science is in a race against time to find brand new ways to fight back. And there is some real, tangible hope on the horizon.
You see, the old way was kind of like dropping a bomb. Broad-spectrum antibiotics just wiped out everything. Good bacteria, bad bacteria, all of it. The future, though, is all about precision. Scientists are developing smart weapons that can literally hunt down and destroy only the specific harmful bacteria that are causing an infection. And just look at some of these incredible tools being developed. Phage therapy, which is basically using viruses that are natural-born bacteria hunters to do our dirty work for us. Or CRISPR, the gene editing tool, which could one day literally snip the resistance code right out of a bacterium's DNA. It's amazing. And rapid diagnostics, which will let doctors know exactly what they're fighting in minutes, not days, so they can use the right weapon the first time, every time.
And so, this brings us full circle. This threat, this crisis, has been growing quietly in the background of all our busy lives. It's not some sudden, dramatic event. It's more like a slow, creeping tide that threatens to wash away one of the greatest pillars of modern life.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The crisis has been silent for a long, long time. We know the problem and we know the path forward. It takes everything from our own personal responsibility all the way to global innovation. The question isn't what to do anymore, it's whether our response will finally be loud enough.